So, Nathan.
Good morning.
Good morning. How
Good
are you?
afternoon. Very well.
Afternoon.
Very hot.
Boiling.
Yes, boiling. In my
Just,
roll neck top.
just a few questions for you. How has pre-season been for the team, and how's the team looking?
Pre-season was unique in the sense of it's been longer than ever, but having had such a break, and obviously with me sort of only recently taking over, it's probably been beneficial in its own little way, as it's given us the time to get fit whilst playing football, rather than the usual sort of mayhem of just plying through fitness work after fitness work. It's enabled us to work on how I want us to play. I say to them quite regularly about looking like my team, so it's given us the chance to put that sort of impression on that. There's been quite a lot of information, but it's information that I believe they're capable of receiving. Some of it maybe sounds overcomplicated for the level that we're at, but I think most of it shows in the games that we've played so far that they're taking it on board. In terms of the training's been of good quality. We've kept the training to once a week in a good quality session. We deliberated twice a week. We've occasionally done twice a week, but I think it's important with amateur football, if you can do one session a week of good quality and get good numbers for it, and create an atmosphere where they feel as though they need to come to training as well as want to come to training, it benefits the numbers, and that's what happened. We went then through a good phase of pre-season friendlies against higher level opposition. Initially that was in preparation for going into a higher league, which we're now not doing, but it has proved at least really valuable going into the cup games that we've just played in, to get that practice and that game time against sides that play at a higher level than us, and see if we can compete. And we have. In the games that we've played in, we've competed, and that was the main thing that we wanted to do throughout, was just compete, particularly in the 4 games against higher level teams for 6 hours. I think for 5 3/4 hours we competed. So overall, very pleased. We've not reached the end of sort of where we want to get to. We planned out, me and Ben both planned out, that we just reach a certain level to take into these cup games, and then we can step up a level to then prepare for the start of the league campaign, and then throughout the course of the league campaign, hopefully we'll improve throughout that as well.
So you talk about, obviously you've been playing higher opposition during your friendlies. You applied for the Mid Wales League. That is a higher division than the teams played at recently in this reincarnation. Whatever happened to that?
Basically, it came down to the commitment of travel for the players. It is a big commitment. It's a long way. It's very easy for anyone who manages any amateur team to say, well, come on, you're only giving up 2 hours of your Saturday, but we also expect them to be there an hour before the game. We then expect them to go for a drink afterwards. We also expect them to travel to away games. Sometimes that can be an hour to 2 hours. Initially, we asked whether or not they were up for it, and I think at the time, with having no football, the appeal was there in the sense of it was, we can play a bit of football all of a sudden. But then as more and more leagues started opening up, I think the reality of, can we actually commit to that, maybe hit home with a few of them. We then put out a proper questionnaire to all the players, something that in hindsight maybe we could have done earlier, but lesson learned. It's not something we've done before, and there are lessons in the process that we've taken from that. And although, as we've said in the games that we've played, I think we'd be confident that we can compete over the course of the season, if it's a simple case of whether or not you're raising teams and getting a full side out, or a side that can compete in those games. And if you're going to be struggling with that, there's financial implications to that as well, and you don't want to be in a position where you're having to pull out in the middle of the season. It's better to take what was an expensive but early decision to at least safeguard the coming season.
So obviously you've now put yourselves into the FAW Cup for the first time in the club's history. Very good first game in beating Montgomery. Yeah.
Okay, we got into the competition by filling out a piece of paper and paying a cheque to the FAW, but we just set the challenge of, it was an honour to be a part of that competition for the first time. But if you can get yourself through to the next round, which we've done, that is actually something that you have achieved and you've earned. I think the players themselves, the one thing that going into this next game, it'd be that sense of achievement just in getting there. You don't then forget going into that game that you have got a game to win as well, and it hasn't got to be the end of that cup run. But it's certainly a game that we've earned through what was a really good performance. Again, we knew going into that game that we can compete against teams at that level, and whether it's a question of whether or not they turn up on the day. We're in control of that to an extent ourselves in how we play and how we put an impression on the game ourselves, and dictate whether or not the opposition have the best of afternoons. And I think that everything seemed to come together at the right time. Pre-season, we talked sort of about peaks and troughs of where we're getting to, and I think on that afternoon we hit a bit of a peak with everything sort of knitting together pretty well. It was reflected in the result, not just the result itself, but the maturity in the performance of seeing out that result. Part of the process has also been games are 90 minutes long. It's not just a case of getting yourself 3-0 up and you've won the game. Against teams of that quality, the game isn't over until the end of the game. So the maturity with which we saw that game through and managed the game, people always talk about game management and all that, but just a collective effort of reading off the same page to see us through, to bring the Welsh Cup football to the village for the first time, which will be exciting. Also entered the Welsh Trophy. That came to an end early, but again an experience in itself that we'll benefit from. Probably a game that we went away again against a higher level team that we competed with. Probably felt as though we should have won, but we didn't. And you look at that as there's a lot in that game that we could control, that we could have ensured that we did go through, and we didn't. I think we lacked a bit of quality in certain areas in trying to win that game. 2 goals that you can't necessarily control the goals, but you can control the play that went before it. And when you're 2-0 down against sides like that, they've got that cushion, and as much of a good second half as we had in that afternoon, they had that 2-0 buffer that ensured that they could just see that game over the line. If we played for another half an hour, I think we'd have won, but games are 90 minutes, and that's a lesson learned from that. But at least we've got the opportunity going into this weekend, and lesson learned from last weekend that we can take into this weekend.
So you're talking about this weekend. This weekend you're facing Caersws in the FAW Trophy. What are your expectations of this match, and also within the Cup as well?
It was about as tough a draw as I think we could have got. I had a funny feeling we would end up with them. I don't know why. I know that's probably nonsense, but I did have a feeling we'd end up with it. But they're all going to be tough because we're the lowest ranked team in that central section. They haven't started their league campaign, so it's the week before that, so I wouldn't expect anything other than them playing a full-strength team going into that. So it's going to be a completely new test. It's a Tier 3 team, not a Tier 4 team. So it is going to be an extra level. There's going to be no pressure on us, though, to do anything other than get knocked out. But there is an internal pressure from us. We're training this evening, and the pressure that we put on ourselves to turn up and perform on the day will be evident in the preparation that we've got tonight. We can go in there with games like that, you take a combination of we still want to play the way we want to play. It's a cup game that ultimately we have to win. It's not a league game that we can just set out and go, well, let's see if we can get a draw, because you've got to win, you've got to try and get through to the next round because of the challenges, the opportunities that the cup presents and further rounds down the line. So we are looking to go through. You have got to be realistic with the challenges that they're going to set us and face us with. And that will be again reflected in how maybe we set up and approach the game. It's a 90-minute game, so over the course of 90 minutes they're going to have plenty of that, but we've got to be confident in our own ability to have moments in that and take those moments, be disciplined, and again reading off the same hymn sheet as one another to try and make sure that the 90 minutes is a winning 90 minutes in any way that we can manage. Training, as I said, is more tonight about being realistic and about being methodical in how we approach it. Saturday, enjoy the occasion, use a little bit of that emotion that goes into it and put that into your performance as well, and hopefully those two components come together and hopefully give us the best chance.
So this coming season you're now officially in the Montgomeryshire Football League. You've been playing higher opposition and been playing well against them. What are your expectations for the league this year? Do you think you can win it?
Our objective is to win it. Now, that is an incentive for other teams who hear that and go, well, I don't think they will do. But, you set out to win every game of football. So if you're setting out to win every game of football, you're setting out to get as high in that table as you can. We've proven that against higher level opposition we can compete. There are still elements to our play that we definitely need to improve. As I said, at the moment we're just building towards these cup games. The league won't start until September, so we've then got weeks ahead to prepare for the start of that, to ensure that when that starts in September we're hitting another one of those peaks that we can then hopefully sustain throughout the course of the season. We're not going into it blindly thinking that our ability alone will get us there. We've got to find ways of beating other teams that bring other challenges, that bring certain more industrial ways of playing. We have got to find a way of getting results and beating teams like that, and it won't be an easy challenge, but it's certainly one that I think that the side certainly has the ability to. It's just whether or not over the course of the season we can apply ourselves, but the objective is certainly to win it and do as well as we can in it.
Now, this is your third stint as manager of this football club. How long do you believe you'll be here this time?
The club can have me for as long as the club wants me. My previous stints were short and I was younger, but being a bit older, I do see myself as hopefully being a part of what is an important phase in the development of the club and trying to push the club forward to that next 3-year period, 5-year period, the next generation of players, the next generation of talent that we can hopefully retain in the village and keep. A lot of it is not just about surviving and keeping the football club going, but hopefully building it into a club that thrives as well and grows as well. What route the actual club takes throughout that, I don't know. There's a lot to decide. We're focused at the moment just on this coming season, but I certainly do see myself as hopefully being a part of that long-term project and just creating an environment that players want to be a part of. We have to remember that we're an amateur football club, and I think the frustration that a lot of amateur managers can sometimes feel themselves is that they expect it to be like a professional football club. They expect everyone to train, they expect everyone to be available for every game, and it doesn't work like that. And it's not that players aren't committed, it's just that players have other commitments, and you just have to manage that. You have to manage that sometimes people can't go to training, sometimes people aren't available for matches, and you have to just work with what you have and reward the people who go to training by putting them on the team sheet. In turn, you get better numbers at training, you get people realising that if they miss training sessions, they're possibly going to be missing out on a place in the team, and it just creates that healthy environment. You can still do things professionally, but you have still got to remember that it's an amateur football club, and that's what we want to retain. It's an enjoyable club for people to be a part of. The pub after is a big part of it. The friendships they make are a big part of it, and that's just something that we want to build going forward in the next generations.
Thank you, Nathan.
Quite all right. Thank you.